Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I am live. We are in the studio. So get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. What is going on with transfers? We've already got one eye on the transfer window in the summer. We're getting into that. Also, have we got any updates in terms of the current squad? What's going on with injuries and all that jazz? We'll be getting into all that. Make sure, if you're not doing so already, you are subscribing to the channel. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers. We're not that far away. We're almost there, and with your support, yes, we will get there. As you'll have seen from the thumbnail, we want to talk about what's going on in the summer. Could be a little bit of a twist in the tail in terms of comings and goings this summer. We're going to be talking about Marcus Rashford's future, talk about Matheus Cunha. Not everyone thinks that will be a good sign, and we'll be getting into that one. Also, Viktor Gyokeres. Could he still be coming at Old Trafford? I don't think so, but some people are claiming he could be. So we'll be looking at all the latest stories, so make sure you're joining in too, and hit that like button, please. Loads of people in the chat already. Good to see it. Chris Griffith says gin fizz. Summer twist on the thumbnail. It does sound like a cocktail, doesn't it? Summer Twist, eh? Now you think about it, yeah? There used to be a drink called Summer Twist, I think. Tobias Nielsen, sorry, Heaven Soul, Mick Hollahorn, Millsy, George, Colin Cupperditch, Matheus Cunha says hello to my favourite baldy. Thank you. Destino Portugal says morning Jay. Rough times as a fan and human. At least you bring some joy. I'll try to. We'll try and have a little bit of positivity. It was a bit negative yesterday, wasn't it? Because it was another deflating result. I know we got the last-minute equaliser at the Vitality, but it was a bit of another underwhelming performance, and everything's a bit rubbish. But we'll try our best to be a little bit more positive this week, because we've got a big game coming up Thursday. All eyes on Bilbao. That is the one that matters, and hopefully we can take a little bit of positivity into that game and get a result. We need it. Let's talk about Matheus Cunha. Paul Scholes. I try to say be positive. Paul Scholes isn't being positive. This is I think Scholesy did an article for TNT. We've got it here from the Mirror. It says, Paul Scholes says Manchester United blunt warning over move for 62.5 million star. So, Paul, if we scroll down there, we're getting to the nuts and bolts of what's been said here. Oh, there you go. It says, Paul Scholes has warned Manchester United that signing Matheus Cunha won't solve their problems. United are in advanced talks to sign Cunha from Wolves in the summer window and are confident of getting a deal over the line. If you get down, I think Scholesy says here, in sort of part of it, he talks about, there you go. He looks like he's got the attributes that Ruben Amorim wants. He knows that physically his team are just not strong or quick enough. So Matheus Cunha is obviously athletic and he's got quality with 15 league goals this season. I just worry for any signing coming into Manchester United. At the minute, it just feels like such a bad place to go. The quality of play is poor. Sorry, the quality of play right now is so poor. I agree with that. That's fair. That's fair enough. And with Cunha, is he a centre forward or is he a wide player? There's no doubt that he has quality, of course. It would be nice to sign him, but I worry where he fits in. You can sign the best 3 players in the world, and I think they'll struggle coming into this team at the minute, but they've got to start somewhere. I get where Scholes is coming from in terms of he's coming into a poor United side. Where does he fit in all the rest of it? But I do think he obviously fits into one of those 10 roles. For me, I think that makes sense to put him in one of those 10 roles. He's not a centre forward, I agree. I don't think he's an out-and-out winger. And I don't think in this system you need him to be an out-and-out winger. You could play him in one of those 2 number 10 roles, and I think he brings something to the team in that role. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think. Obviously, Scholes is a little bit concerned, a little bit cautious around it. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone is as enthusiastic as I've become over this signing. The more I've seen of Matheus Cunha, the more I think about it, the more I think, you know what? Even the fact he's got a bit of, disciplinary problems doesn't put me off. I think he's just an exciting player. I want to be excited watching Manchester United. It feels like a long time since I've had that. Plus, he's got a bit of an edge, and I don't mind that as well. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with Scholes? Do you have reservations? Yes, the team is poor. Any player might struggle a little bit because you're coming into a poor side. But let's not forget, signings make an impact, obviously. That's the most, blatant statement anyone's ever said. But a player like Cunha, it could give everyone a little bit of a lift. Don't forget as well, what happened, right? Let me cast your minds back to about 6 years ago. United lost 2-0 at home to Burnley, right? Devastating result. We were terrible. You look at it, I think it left us 6 points off top 4. The devastation there. Imagine being 6 points off top 4. Seems like the Hallican days, that, doesn't it? Anyway, everyone after the game thought, this is it, we're done. Solskjaer's going to get sacked. This team is dead, going nowhere. It's all doom and gloom. It's just, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. We signed Bruno Fernandes. Bruno comes in, elevates everyone. Amazing player. brings players around him, brings their levels up as well, creates chances, has a lot of energy, has high demands. I remember in his first game against Wolves, his debut, rollicking Jesse Lingard, telling Jesse Lingard where he wanted him to run. You felt like, all right, here's a player's adding something. Then you get Paul Pogba, I think, comes back from injury. All of a sudden as well, we're creating more chances. And Martial started scoring, Marcus Rashford started scoring. It just felt like the whole team got a little bit of a lift, especially with players returning from injury. I'm hoping, and it's not, I don't know, but I'm hoping that if Cunha comes in, you bring in another striker as well, so you've got options up front. Plus we get Ahmad back in the team, who makes a big difference. You know my thoughts on Ahmad, I love him, and I think he's a massive miss for this team under Ruben Amorim. I think he'll be a fantastic player for him. He comes back into the team. Hopefully as well, you have players like De Ligt back in the team. He's obviously missing another big player. Either Martinez or Aiden Heaven. I know that's a bit more long-term with Lisandro Martinez. I think they can offer something to this team. Getting those players back from injury and a couple of signings, all of a sudden the team looks a lot more positive. I'm not saying it's going to start challenging for the title. We were speaking about this last night on the Paddock podcast. That's a long way off. But can we improve? Can we start moving up that table? Can we be in the conversation for top 4 next year? I think we can. Now, there's lots of ifs and buts and maybes. Is Cunha going to hit the ground running? Are the players going to return from injury and be the same players they were? All that jazz. But I think there's reasons that United can be a little bit more optimistic. And I think a player like Cunha can help us on that path. If we don't get him, then we need to get someone of that calibre. And that is going to be difficult. So I'm glad that Manchester United seem to be getting that deal over the line. Let's just hope there's not another twist, another summer twist in the tail with that one. I understand why Paul Scholes has got reservations. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to get into some of the comments and then we'll get into some more stories as well. Mark Hayden says, Jay, you're a hero, massive inspiration. I'd listen to your United chat daily regardless, but I feel lucky to spend my time listening to someone I admire so much. Thank you, Mark. What a lovely comment. I do appreciate all the support we get from everyone on this channel. We wouldn't be here without you. 5 years ago, it's almost coming up to 5 years now, we went from full-time Devils to Stretford, Paddock. Myself, Stephen Howson, Joe Smith, Adam McCall obviously took over the channel, bought the channel, and then sort of revamped it, renamed it, took a punt, and the support has been overwhelming, and we would not be here without you guys, so don't think we aren't grateful. We're grateful every day. Let me know what you think about Matheus Cunha, about Paul Scholes' thoughts and comments. There's nothing wrong with having reservations, nothing wrong being cautious. You get a bit jaded as a United fan, don't you? Because it feels like almost every signing we've made post-Fergie, there's been an issue with, maybe other than Bruno, almost all of them. Even like the likes of Juan Mata, who I thought was a good player for Manchester United. He never quite, and I'm scared to say anything negative about Juan Mata because he's ace, quite hit the numbers that he hit at Chelsea. And it's for a multitude of reasons, not just blaming him. But even players like Paul Pogba, who's obviously immensely talented, one of the most gifted midfielders I've ever seen, did he quite live up to those expectations? I don't know. Let me know what you think. So you're going to be a little bit cautious, aren't you? I do like the Cunha signing, though. Harry Hatchell says, yes, Jay, just in Melbourne. Loving the channel. Love Melbourne, by the way. We talked about Melbourne last night. Went there for the pre-season tour 3 years ago in Thailand, Melbourne and Perth. Absolutely fantastic city. I've got some family over there as well. It was great. Aziv Wakare says, Jay, I've already placed a bet on us finishing top 4. Good stuff, man. I mean, there's worse bets to place. I'm not advising you to do that. I like the optimism, though. I like the confidence. There's nothing wrong with being a little bit optimistic. I just wish we could be proper deluded and think 21 is coming next season. But I don't think I can be that deluded. Not even me in my most deluded mindset can get there just yet. I think we've got a few years to go. Kareem Kenawe, who's been a member of the Academy for 11 months. There's new members content coming up this week as well. Me and Joe Smith having a bit of a quiz. I think it's called 9.5able, which is a play on the word tenable. 9.5. Joshua Xerxes. You get it. Producer Ben come up with that one. Yeah, it's a very clever lad. Cunha will have a positive impact, says Kareem, but in my opinion, we need another prolific goal scorer. I like Delap, but fear he won't be up to the task. That's reasonable. That's, I get it. I understand it. Delap's been banging him in for Ipswich this season. Is it 12 Premier League goals, I think, for Ipswich? So he's been doing well. Still a young striker. I think it's 1 season in the Premier League. I understand there's going to be reservations there. A lot of people comparing it to Rasmus Højlund, saying it's similar numbers to Rasmus Højlund's first season. Second season, he had a drop-off. Is that going to happen again? All the rest of it. I like the Delap signing. I think United have to make that kind of signing. We don't have enough money to go out and buy a top striker who's going to cost you 70, 80 million, 90 million quid. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Maybe you can get Delap and someone like a Jonathan David on a free from Lille. I think his contract ends in the summer. Maybe that is an option. Viktor Gyokeres, there's still some rumours there flowing around. I'm going to get to them in a minute. I personally think that's not happening, but I'll explain why, the stories behind that and what the rumours are. Ross Murphy says Adam McCullough will. Adam McCullough always loves the 21 who's coming. The day that Adam McCullough doesn't do that, beginning of the season, is going to be a cold day. Apologies for banging on the table. I know it wreaks havoc with the audio. Caleb Deterle says, don't worry, Jay, I'm always deluded. Or Delulu. I like that. Delulu. 21 is coming. Clayton Schultz says, you boring, Jay. 21 is coming. New chant coming. 26, 27. Sorry. Apologies. El Firon says, turn the club off and turn it on again. Works on Football Manager. Yeah, maybe just flick it on and off. I like that. Osasin says, I prefer the forwards with Premier League experience over the others and bring in as many free and cheap signings to pressure every other position. Quantity, maybe. Maybe there's a bit of quantity there. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, because Marcus Rashford picked up an injury. He wasn't in Aston Villa's FA Cup semi-final loss to Crystal Palace. Looked like he'd had a knock, I think was the initial diagnosis. It's more serious than that. He suffered a hamstring injury. You can see it there from Ben Fisher in The Guardian. And it says here he's expected to miss the rest of Aston Villa's season because of the hamstring injury that forced him out of I think we had a little bit of a glitch in the machine. I'm glad you all stayed with us. I was just talking about Marcus Rashford there. So it says here, he's going to stay at Aston Villa, I think, to do his rehabilitation. Let me know in the chat and the comments what you think about that, what you think about the situation with Marcus Rashford. Because it's a weird one with Marcus Rashford. We were talking about this upstairs yesterday. I don't feel like he's smashed it at Aston Villa. I think he's done well. I think he scored some goals. I know he scored some goals. He's got some assists. I think there was a good combination with him and Asensio when he first arrived there. He had a very good second half an hour against PSG before he got substituted. I think that helps him as well. And I think he's done enough to get interest, whether that's from Aston Villa, whether that's some other clubs are looking at Marcus Rashford and saying that he could be an option for them. I think Marcus Rashford will go in the summer. I think he's done enough to get that move. Let me know what you think about that. It says here, Villa are thought to objected to the Premier League after Tottenham requested to change the date of meeting owing to their potential involvement in the Europa League final 3 days later. Villa, who are 7, 3 points behind 5th place Chelsea, fear moving the fixture could hamper their quest for Champions League qualifications. A bit of intrigue there. Manchester United might even face Tottenham Hotspur in the Europa League final there. So you can see the results there, some of the stats there. Rashford, who has scored 4 goals in 17 Villa appearances, returned to the England squad in March after a recall from Thomas Tuchel. Now, 4 goals in 17 appearances isn't anything to write home about. That's not that impressive at all. But he has got quite a few assists as well, and I think the level of his performances have been a little bit more impressive than what we were seeing towards the end at Manchester United. The issue wasn't just the performances at Manchester United, it was what was going on at training. We know all this. We know that him and Ruben Amorim weren't getting on. We know that it doesn't really seem like he has a future at Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, and I think it is time for Marcus Rashford to move on, and I don't think that hamstring injury is going to stop him moving on in the summer. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. There was another article. Sorry, we got that other article. I thought, sorry, Producer Benson's another article saying about his injury being recalled, but we haven't got it. Right, so we'll try and find that out. Akash K says, Jay, I think some fans really don't appreciate how hard it will be to shift Rashford on this summer. Fully agree with Gig comments on Rashford. He's just not happy here at United anymore. Yeah, he's not looked happy for a long time, has he? It doesn't look like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. We know that Marcus Rashford, when he's on fire or on form, is a top player. On fire, same thing. Top player. We've seen it. We've seen some of the seasons he's had at Manchester United. But when the manager doesn't think you're doing enough in training, when the manager is willing to let you go on loan during the season, even though we are short of goals, it's time to move on, and that's what I'm going to do now. Let's talk about Viktor Gyokeres. No, it's fine. Viktor Gyokeres, we've got a story here. So I want to talk about this, right, because it's doing the rounds, but I think I have to be honest with you guys, as I always am. I've yet to see any website, publication, news outlet post this story that makes me think it's going to happen. I think you're looking at Give Me Sport, a quote in Football Insider, who are saying that they've been told from their sources that Manchester United to Viktor Gyokeres to Manchester United is a done deal. They can see from Football Insider. I have my reservations about this, massively. I think Are we going to have the money for Viktor Gyokeres? I know he's around a 62.5 or 62 million. I think 62.5 is Matheus Cunha, isn't it? It's similar fee, though, for Viktor Gyokeres for his buyout clause. Do I see Manchester United having that and the Cunha money? No. It looks like Cunha's going to happen. Also, Delap looks like there's some fire to that smoke. That's 30 million quid. Plus, are both Delap and Gyokeres going to come to Manchester United? I'm very, very doubtful. I don't see this happening. The smart money might be on Gyokeres going to Arsenal. He's been linked with that. That move, maybe someone else comes in for him. Maybe a Spurs, maybe a Chelsea, maybe even a Liverpool, although we're not hearing too much about that. I know they have got other options as well. I just don't see him coming to Manchester United. This feels to have cooled for a reason. A few months ago, everyone thought Viktor Gyokeres was going to come to Manchester United, mainly because of the Ruben Amorim connection there. Ruben Amorim obviously signed him when he was at Sporting, and he smashed it there, and he continues to smash it. I think he's got about 51 goals in 48 games this season, or something stupid. It's proper like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo peak numbers. But I don't see him coming to Manchester United. And no disrespect to the likes of Football Insider, but I'm not going to hang my hat on their stories. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Akash K says, Jay, I'll gift 50 memberships if we sign Gyokeres. Yep, I think that's. I think you won't end up giving those 50 memberships, but thanks for that appreciation. Chris Griffith says 442, maybe a rumour from World Soccer Magazine. As if Wakari says, had someone comment on a comment about Rashford that I made? Oh, right, sorry. I think there's a bit of back and forth going there in the comments. Forgive me. JKC React23 says, shouldn't we give some coverage on our women's team? Yes, we should. The women are obviously in the FA Cup final. They've got the derby this weekend. I'm going to that. I'm taking the kids to the Manchester derby this weekend. And you're right, we should have a little bit more coverage of the women's team. And that is something we will endeavour to improve upon. Let's talk about season tickets. Ollie Holt, who is a bit up and down, Ollie Holt. He said some nonsense over the years. I think in 2003 he said it was time for Fergie to retire. Obviously that aged well, considering Fergie went on to win, what was it, about another 6 titles and another Champions League post 2003, so well done there. But he's not always wrong, Ollie Holt, and he says here about this article he's got. I think this is in Mail Plus, so it might be behind a paywall. So season ticket holders betrayed in Manchester United's dash for cash, column on social engineering at Old Trafford, and what is happening to our game when one of our biggest clubs needs an atmosphere section. We've had this atmosphere section thing has been going on for years, TRA and all the rest of it. But in terms of what Ollie Holt's talking about, there's seats around the dugout. Now, I think there's a guy called Steve who's been quoted in that. There's a story about him. We've seen this in other publications as well. He's had his season ticket, I think, for about 50 years. In and around the dugout. Now what's happened is the club have decided they're going to sell the seats around the dugout at Old Trafford as sort of premium exclusive members package, where you can sit near the dugout and pay about 500 quid a game or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm just, guessing. So people are getting shifted from the season tickets. I hate people getting moved from their season tickets, right? It really does my head in, because what happens is when you go to the game as a season ticket holder, you form friendships with the people that you sit with over the years. You get to know them. They're your mates. They become your friends. And you see them sometimes just at the game. I've got mates that I've been standing or sitting with for the past decade or so, and I see them only at the game. They're good friends as well. I chat to them all the time on WhatsApp or whatever, but I physically see them at the game, and we catch up at the game, and it's part of your match day thing. So when you move people, you lose that. You might lose touch with those people. You might not sit with them anymore. And it's a shame, and it shouldn't happen. And also when you're moving loyal fans who've been there for years because you want to make a few more quid out of executive members, it does sort of leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. Don't forget as well, so Jim Ratcliffe spoke, I think, in that interview with Gary Neville, where he was saying about we want to reward fans, loyal fans that don't just come to the biggest 3 games of the season. We want to reward the fans that go to all the games of the season, which is kind of a nod towards season ticket holders. And yet that doesn't feel like his actions are matching his promises if you're moving season ticket holders on so you can make a few more quid off executive members. Now listen, I'm not criticising or questioning anyone that wants to come to Old Trafford for the day or pay a premium for a premium ticket or only go to a few games during the course of the season. I get it. When I lived in London, when I was at uni, I only came up, I think, about 3 or 4 times. That's certain seasons. because I was skint, I couldn't afford it, and I just, you know, end up getting a sort of the cheap coach and coming up for the odd game here and there. So I get it. Not everyone lives in Eccles like I do. We can just get on a tram and go straight to Old Trafford. It's not that easy, and there's nothing wrong with only coming to Old Trafford sporadically. I just don't like the idea of moving season ticket holders who've been there for over 50 years in their seats because you want to flog premium tickets. Let me know if you agree. Let me know what you think. I want to hear your thoughts. This is your channel, not mine. Ruzbay Ayase says, Jay, what do you think about bringing in Thomas Muller as a free agent? He is world-class, experienced, and Højlund can learn a lot from him. Also wouldn't be expensive. I like Thomas Muller. I think he is all those things you mentioned. Very, very talented striker. Obviously got that experience. What is he now, though? He's mid-30s, isn't he? He's getting on a bit. It does feel like a bit of a throwback to the sort of signings we used to make. Yes, he can learn, or Højlund can learn from him perhaps, but I do feel like we need to move forward with our signings. I do feel like we need to be signing players that have got a lot more left in the tank, no disrespect, than Thomas Muller has got. What are you going to get out of him as an option? Maybe you can use him sporadically. I just don't see it happening. Also, what's the next step for him? Is he going to stay at Bayern Munich? You'd imagine there might be some sort of role for him there. I don't know though, if he's a free agent, maybe he's going to go elsewhere, but perhaps Bayern Munich could offer him a coaching role. He's certainly been a fantastic servant to them over the years. Asim Hans says, with us flirting with relegation, how do we get good players anymore? Can we avoid mercenaries? I think you can still buy good players as Manchester United Football Club. Don't forget, we are the biggest club in Britain. We just are. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are still, historically a big club. Now we're still a big club, sort of, in the sort of modern parlance. We're still going to have this new stadium as well to look forward to. We've still got 70,000 fans coming in through the gate every week. You can't just ignore all that. And I still think we've got, when everyone's fit, a decent team. We have. The team in the squad and a squad that should be at the bottom half of the table. I think injuries and some of the decisions that Ruben Amorim has been forced to make have hurt us, and some of the players that just aren't quite up to it. And I think when you make a couple of signings, this team can get back to closer to where we belong. We belong at the very top of English football. I think we can get closer to there, but I certainly don't think that any player we're looking at us going, I'm not going to Manchester United. There's still a lot of reasons why you would sign for Manchester United. I just feel certain players, the very, very top players, that is going to be a bit more of a difficult sell, especially when other clubs who are definitely in the Champions League, we don't know if we're going to be in the Champions League next season, and can offer bigger wages than we seem be able to offer, and can offer genuine title challenges. That might be a difficult one. Going back to Viktor Gyokeres, for example, if Arsenal came in for him, United came in for him, Arsenal could say to him, look, we're definitely in the Champions League next season. You're going to be in a title challenge next season. Let's have it right. You could actually be the missing link, sort of piece of the puzzle to get us over the line in terms of winning a title. Can United offer that? Not realistically. Let's talk about Franco Mastantuono. So this is from Man United News. They've quoted it from a publication, I think, in South America. It says here, Soy de Milo now claim that the Red Devils have made an offer to purchase Argentine wonder kid Franco Mastantuono. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, forgive me. The 17-year-old is one of the best emerging talents at River Plate and has been touted to pursue a bigger challenge elsewhere. United will be eligible to sign him after his 18th birthday on August the 14th, but River Plate will hold out for his £38 million release clause. However, a deal won't be straightforward, with Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid also hot on the trail of the talented playmaker. Listen, United are looking at South America, aren't we? We're already bringing in Diego Leon in the summer. We've already signed him from Paraguay. This is a kid that's been spoken about a lot. I know there's a lot of clubs looking at him. Could Manchester United get the deal over the line? It's not beyond the realms of possibility. Let's not forget, Lenny Yoro was one of the most sought-after youngsters. We managed to do that deal, even though Real Madrid were looking at him. The fee might put us off. We have done that kind of thing before. When you look at Ahmad, for example, I think it was an initial payment of around 20 million, rising up to 37 million for a player that had only played an hour of professional football. River Plate's General Secretary, Stefano Di Carlo, has clarified that Mastano won't leave until the turn of the calendar year. Mastano is staying at River Plate for the entire year. That's a given. I think a signing like this is just a long-term one anyway. I don't think that's necessarily the end of the world. Don't forget, I think with Diego Leon, we bought him, stay at his club, and the talk that he's going to come into the squad in the summer. We're going to see him in pre-season, see what sort of level he's at, and then make a decision whether he goes back to Paraguay, whether he gets loaned to a club in England or Europe, or whether he stays with the squad. One to keep an eye on. We will always let you know if there's any updates on there. Thomas Cumberton says, if Rashford's come back, tell him he will never play first team football again. Okay, right, fair enough. Santa Notch says, can't wait for the Mastantuono puns on Paddock Live. Yeah, I'm looking forward to them myself. Heaven Soul says he scored a worldie the other day. I think talking about that. When is Ahmad back, says Mohamed Atif. I think the rumours are that he's back in training this week. I think we'll find a clearer picture in the manager's press conference tomorrow ahead of the Athletic Club game. So when we find out then, when we hear from the manager then, we'll probably get... I'd be amazed if someone didn't ask him about Ahmad. So you should find out a little bit more detail of when he could be back. I'm hoping he'll be back in time for the second leg. I mean, there you go. I think the last we heard was he's near to being available. I mean, yeah, that's sort of, how long's a piece of string. We'll see if there's any more updates, if he has been training this week from the manager's press conference tomorrow. He might have a little bit of a clearer picture. We need Ahmad back. I'm hoping he's going to be back for that second leg, because if we can get him playing against Athletic Club, that would be phenomenal. I don't expect him to see him this week, of course. Injury updates, I think we've got some here. Delo, we know, I think he could be out for the rest of the season. Sad to see that, innit? He's been such a mainstay in his team. I know he has his critics, and he's not had a perfect season by any stretch of the imagination, but if he's fit, he plays for a reason, I think, as well. De Ligt, he could be returning to action. We need him back as well. Again, it's just near, innit? Near. De Ligt's a big player. Ahmad, we've already spoken about him. Aiden Heaven as well. He's had a frustrating run with injuries, and he was just the latest update on him was he's not ready. Good. I always worry when it's a young player and he's injured, like at the start of his United career. You just want him to get going, don't you? Lenny Oro had it, didn't he, when he got that injury straight away? Aiden Evan came into the side against Sociedad. Well, I thought he did well against Fulham, did well against Sociedad, did very well in that first half against Leicester, and then gets the injury. Really frustrating. And then you've got Joshua Zirkzee, who's off as well. He got that injury against Newcastle, then he went on that amazing run. Did his hamstring, it looks like he's out. You can see he's not going to play anymore this season, so he's out for the season. Really, really frustrating. Debut season. Toby Collier could be back soon, I think. Toby has a small issue in his leg, so we hope to have him in a few weeks. And the United boss said that a few weeks ago. And then Lisandro Martinez, he suffered an ACL injury. I hope we get Martinez back to the player that we saw just before he got injured, and we saw in that first season under Erik ten Hag. Let's talk about Kevin Keegan, because it's the anniversary, I think, today of Kevin Keegan's rant. So if you can scroll up there just so you can see his face, there you go. You remember that one? You can tell him now, we're still fighting for this title. He's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. Well, the good thing is we went to Middlesbrough and we got a win and we won the title. But what an epic rant that was, eh? When you say something like that he said about a man like Stuart Pearce, I tell you what, he went down in my estimation. I've kept really quiet, but I would love it if we beat them. Just love it. Plot spoiler, he didn't. Rotterdam Revisited, two of my favourite words ever. Andy Mitten doing God's work there with his 1991 documentary. That was premiered last night on YouTube. Me, Steve, and a special guest are going to be talking about this on The Brew on Friday, because we do love to talk about the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final, the biggest achievement, the greatest achievement in the history of English football. So we'll be getting into that with someone who's got a lot to say on the matter and has a little bit of a vested interest in it. And yeah, we've got a good guest on that front as well. Sorry, Heaven Soul says Friday, that's too far. Don't worry, you can do it. You've learned now as United fans to have patience. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be back later on today with Laurie Whitwell. Yes, the Manchester United correspondent for The Athletic is going to be here in the studio talking to me and Joseph for Inside United. So make sure if you're not doing so already, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I've been Jay Marty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.